First of all, I'm just gonna bullet point them out. First of all, I'm horrifically afraid of death, and I'm terrified. Don't know what happens after. Also, I think that I have visions sometimes, and I think I'm super special because most of my visions come true, and I can like see things that happened, and then they happen. Even down to subtle things where I'm like, the other day I was like, I had a nightmare that I was going to be exposed to COVID, and then I gave it to my whole family. The next day, I was exposed to COVID. So
You
I was
had
like,
that dream? I didn't
I
know
had that dream the night before.
Whoa.
I had a vision of me like accepting my Grammy, and I saw what it looked like and felt like. And I was in a taxi cab ride fading away, and I saw that, and I got so excited, and didn't feel like a daydream. It felt like something different. It was weird. I never told anyone. And then in that moment when I won the Grammy, it was the exact same picture. And I was like, oh my goodness, like colors, everything. I don't know. So
Bliss. I love hearing this because, you are clearly highly sensitive, intuitive, potentially psychic. I believe we all have that in our DNA. We do.
Oh, no.
We
Yes,
all
we
have that in our
do.
DNA. But most of us bury our heads in the sand and let our conscious reality, material world, ego, logic and reason squash it. The voices of logic and reason, which we've been told from an early age by parents and carers, dreams don't make sense, concentrate, don't trust your gut, just, follow your reason and logic. And those voices squash most of our faith in our intuition, which we have. But you, of course, being a musician, inclined to the creative arts and everything, where you have to suspend disbelief. That's what you do. It's about, flying in that magical world of possibilities. So you're naturally more in tune to it, as most musicians are. So really, you just need to trust it, not fear it. And working with your dreams can really help you do that. It's your passport to infinite possibility, and it's your passport to fulfillment and more joy than you can ever realize through material accomplishments. Because you must know you've had great success in your very young life. That's great. But, you can just repeat that success there. And I think what COVID has shown the whole world is that you can't find lasting happiness through material stuff, through work success, even through relationships, unless there's that inner sense of completeness and wholeness first. And dreams are pointing the way to try and help us do that, to become whole from the inside out. Because the material stuff is great. We're here on this earth to experience, to learn and to evolve, and to fulfill our many gifts. But without a sense of meaning and purpose, what is the point? Because we're all going to die at the end,
Right.
We're all going to pass.
will you tell me what you think happens when we die?
Well, I've written book after book about that, many, many books, and I've worked with scientists and neuroscientists researching near-death experiences. It's absolutely fascinating. The short answer is we don't know for sure. The long answer is that there's more and more research suggesting that consciousness, that's the part of us that exists in our dreams and our memories and our emotions, may survive bodily death. There is the near-death studies research by Dr. Sam Parnia, which shows that consciousness, that spark, that life, may survive up to 3 minutes after brain and body death. And more research is being done. On top of that, you've got all these anecdotal stories from people who have died, been on the brink of death. They're basically, their heart stops, their brain stops, and they come back with these incredible visions and stories. Now,
Yes.
in times past, we wouldn't have heard these stories because resuscitation techniques were not there.
Yeah.
So they would have taken, although, it dates right back to the time of Plato, the first near-death experience story. But right now, because resuscitation is getting so good, it's almost becoming commonplace of people having these remarkable stories. And sometimes they tell, stories about their life, and they learn things on the other side that's impossible for them to know, logically.
Yeah,
And
I've heard so many of those stories where they like can see their body and like see everyone working on them, and to the point where like they can't, like they'll say, I remember that doctor with the red beard, and they never met them, but that was the person who saved her life,
Whoa.
like
But
crazy stuff you can't explain.
It's consciousness, call it mind, call it spirit, call it soul, existing independent of your body and your brain. Now that's a really, really far out thought. And I understand that a lot of people don't want to go there. It's quite alarming. But if you think, when you close your eyes and you say, think of someone you love who's far away, you're connecting to them in that you have a memory and image. That's consciousness. What's going on there? The ability to time travel as well. When you can think back to your past, you can see yourself as a child. Or you can think of loved ones who've departed. You see them in your mind's eye. That's a form of connection, a form of time travel, which science actually is researching. And of course, you know, for people who are new to all this, just go and watch the Disney movie Soul. And I happen
love
to know
that movie.
I happen to know the science team who were called in by Disney to inform them about the afterlife scenes. Dr. Lauren Carpenter, who co-founded Pixar, I've interviewed him, and he is a physicist who researches near-death, spirituality, mysticism. And you can see that filtering into Disney at the moment. There are a lot of them really interested in the mystical aspect of our lives, that movie Inside Out as well.
Love that one.
These scientists are really delving deep into what is consciousness. And if you've ever actually, I worked in a hospice before I went to university. If you ever had the privilege of sitting with people when they pass, it's like a light goes out and it's no longer them when they've passed. It's like they've taken a jacket off. It's like something has gone. And I think that Disney movie Soul really captured that spark. And that's what I write about. What is that spark? And it once you start falling in love with this kind of research, you're never bored because it's infinite.
I'm so obsessed with it. I always YouTube like also past lives and stuff. What do you think about that stuff? Like when there's a 4-year-old kid born in America who was like, no, I was an Irish boy and here's my house, and he literally can bring his family there and be like, I had 2 daughters and a dog and this was my job, and they like find the person. Come on, bro, it's amazing. Is that real? What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, the University of Virginia specializes in reincarnation research. It was pioneered by Dr. Ian Stevenson there. He's passed now, but other people are continuing this research. They have a massive database of particularly children's stories, actually, where you can't explain it away by parents telling them, because sometimes they're so young, or culture or religious symbolism. They just seem to have a knowledge of a life. And then when the researchers go away, they find out that it's almost all of it's true. There's a whole database of research there. But basically, if you believe that consciousness can survive bodily death, exist independent of brain and bodily death, of course, it explains the possibility of reincarnation, that spark can re-enter and be reborn. We don't know. I mean, as I always say, there's no 100% proof that the afterlife is real, but there's no 100% proof by scientists or skeptics that it isn't real. We're not going to know. We're not going to know till we
it's the only thing that helps me sleep at night.
Don't fear death, because basically every night when you go to sleep, you're kind of having a mini death.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think I lucked out. I don't fear death at all.
I think it's because all the psychedelics you took.
I guess.
Like, you know how they say you just need to go have a DMT? What's it called? You need to go have a trip.
I never did that one, but I've done like mushrooms, too many mushrooms for sure. You kind of...
Yeah, especially in California when I tell people like, oh, I have a crazy fear of death. They're like, dude, you need to like chill out and be with your favorite people and take a bunch of psychedelics. It'll help you like erase that fear. I don't get it.
I'm not going to...
I'm way too scared. I'm not doing that. I don't recommend it.
It gave me a sense of like everything is one, you know, like we're all kind of all molecules floating around this space and time. And I don't know. I think there is probably a sense of pure bliss when you go. I think it's like all good energy.
I think either way, like everything I've seen, like you're talking about, where a lot of people die and come back, and they say similar stories where like it's like a big trip, but of pure happiness and beautifulness, and you can meet. A lot of people say like my soul family is up there wherever you go next, and you meet everyone you love. And some nurses on even TikTok say when I'm with people who are about to die, they say, "Oh my God, my relatives there. Do you see them too?" Like, and they're like, "It's okay. They're helping me cross over or something." And I'm like, that's how I hope it goes down, bro. I hope my mommy comes to get me. I hope everyone's waiting for me like a big party.
Am I going to be stuck with you forever?
Fuck yeah, dude. We're soul brothers.
You are linked. But just a few things to address there. First of all, fear of death. Anyone who who does feel like that. There's a documentary on Netflix called Last Breath about a deep sea diver who went into a saturation tank and was cut off from the umbilical cord and effectively died, but he was miraculously saved. And what he says about what he experienced can really take away the sting of death. First of all, there's that. And what you were saying also about seeing loved ones when you cross over, even Steve Jobs in his biography, I believe written by his sister, I'm not sure, she was with him when he passed, and he looked over her shoulder and his last words were, "Oh wow, oh wow, oh wow." What was he seeing? Wow. That's incredible. But I've had so many stories sent to me over the years, because as I collate a lot of these parting vision stories, afterlife, near-death experience stories, and it does seem that you are met by all the people you've had the strongest connection with. You have a life review, you're drawn towards a tunnel. But of course, this is all great because everybody says, what about people who are murderers or evil or serial killers, the Hitlers? Right. Do they get all that as well? I'm often asked that. It seems like everybody gets bliss at heaven. It's like, yeah. But what people say, mediums or psychics that I talk to about this, they say that actually people who have done great wrong in their lives, you get to feel on the other side, because the only currency on the other side is emotion. You get to feel the hurt that you have caused others. So but it's awful. There's no hell as such. Right. It seems that the afterlife is about learning, and the purpose of people who've done great evil is they have to learn empathy, because that's what they're not learning. And the only way is to see. And it seems that on the other side, you get the impact of your actions, your words on others. You feel it. So that's quite an awesome thought.
Yeah, I've heard stuff of people passing saying like, yeah, and then it was like I got a big flashbook of my entire life. Like I got to see everything I ever went through in a really short amount of time.
Don't want that.
Yes, I want that. And it's kind of like your report card. It's like, how'd you do down there, buddy? You want to try again? I would love that.
I already lived it.
It's quite an awesome thought to think that.
And then when I think about
I say to people,
when I think about stories, like even people when on Oprah were saying like, I'm terrified of the ocean because in my past life I think I died at a young age, like by drowning. When I think about that, I go, oh, my past life must have been horrific because we're thriving in this one. Like I got way too many blessings on me that I'm like, I must have been murdered at a young age. Like I must have not had any chances back then.
You're living in line with who you truly are. And when you do that, when you actually be who you truly are, the universe brings magic to you. A lot of people's unhappiness is because they're not being true to who they are. If you want a happy life, you've got to believe that what you're doing every day is authentically you.
I think that's why my life has gotten better.
Isn't it gotten better?
Yeah.
This is my favorite episode of all time.
I was just like a party boy for the last 10 years. And I, towards the last few years, I'm like kind of over this. This doesn't feel real, it's nothing, it's like quick hits of dopamine, not fulfilling. Like there's no long-term goodness from this. I'm kind of sick of these people in my circles, and I was just like, and I would always tell like Daryl like, oh, by 30 I'll just sober up and everything's gonna be great. And I was like, why do I have to wait till then? Maybe I could just sober up now and everything can get better now. And it has. I mean,
you sound just like very similar to Russell Brand actually when I spoke to him.
I saw that interview. It was amazing.
He was the same. He basically had pushed all the physical boundaries, through drinks, through sex, through relationships, through career. The only place he hadn't yet gone with spirituality and mysticism, and that's now where he's trying to find his meaning and purpose. But as I always say to people, if you're not happy, you're going to have to watch your life again on the other side. Is what you're doing right here, right now, something you want to revisit? You're going to see it all again. So you better make sure that you're creating a great show when you have to see it all again. Don't waste a precious moment, of your life. But also the afterlife is right here, right now. People have this idea that you die and go to heaven. It's not. The afterlife you are creating in every moment through your thoughts, through your actions, through your words. You are creating it right now. Heaven truly is a place on earth. It just continues. So it's there's no division, just as there is no division between waking and sleep. Your consciousness is still you. You just go into an altered state of consciousness. When you fall asleep, you're still, your essence, your spark is still you, but you go into a different alternate, a different reality. And I can explain why that reality is different. It's the reality of your unconscious, and they do things differently there. They speak in the language of an artist, and you, Meghan, will understand that. They speak in the language of a poet, an artist, a musician in dreams, through symbols, through metaphors, through puns, through associations. And that's why dreams are often very difficult for people to decode, because they look at them literally. You shouldn't look at them literally. You look at them symbolically.